that there's other hormones, though, that deal with weight loss, like your ghrelin, your leptin, your HGH, your cortisol, your insulin. All of this has an effect on your weight. So we want to get things in balance. And the way to balance your hormones is through your nutrition. And you balance your nutrition by balancing out your macronutrients. So it's how much protein, how much carbs, and how much fats are you getting each day.
Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans, but now the proud host of my podcast with the title of my second book, Too Young to Be Old. And what a perfect title for a perfect guest, Lisa Swanson, who represents body and soul. Lisa, you've got so many titles and degrees behind you. I can't get through them all, but let me put it this way. Lisa is about thriving in midlife. Mm-hmm. She's about female metabolism and hormones, how to lose weight, in middle age, past the age of 50, and keep it off. So, without further ado, Lisa, welcome to my podcast, and let's start talking about the keys to long-term success for women in midlife, for women who may just be stepping into that impossible point in life, which looks like an insurmountable barrier, menopause. How do we lose weight in menopause? I mean, my God, I gained like 80 pounds. Come on. What did I do wrong?
You can do it. You didn't adjust. But first, I just want to say thank you for having me here. I am so thrilled. I love you, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.
And yes, I love learning. So I have so many certifications because there's always something to learn. And I'll tell you, and this is why I think so many women struggle in the beginning, because there's no big studies on women in menopause and what we need to do. All the studies on weight loss and on nutrition are all done on men.
No.
Yes, because they're easier. Their hormones aren't fluctuating every month, right? So they can study men and get these consistent results. And women,
I feel females are so marginalized.
Absolutely.
In the healthcare system.
Absolutely.
And I feel like there should be this huge, strong movement towards making menopause integrated into the rest of your life rather than this huge barrier where you stop being reproductive. And quite frankly, I feel you stop being important to society. It's like, okay, step aside now. You're no longer reproductive. That's what you were here for. Whatever you do, just don't bother us. Yeah.
Exactly. We we're ignored in the workplace. Our opinions are ignored. We go to the doctor and tell them complaints that we're having, aches and pains we're having. They say, you're 50, it's going to happen. Deal with it. It's like, oh, come on. Who else do you say that to? Deal with it? And it can't be that way. But I do think that there is a shift coming. I am seeing more and more information on menopause, more and more studies being done on women on menopause. That's how I was able to get a certification on the female metabolism and hormones, and specifically menopause.
That is fascinating to me, because I used to be a girl. I wasn't rail thin when I was young, but I lived across the street from a donut factory. They would start frying donuts at 2 a.m. every morning. Right. I would be in a long line for 6 sugar glazed donuts, consume them all, and somehow still have a slamming body. But now, if I look at something or I think about it, I'm going to gain weight.
Exactly.
So what I felt when I went through menopause was the only solution was to take hormones. And then people started saying to me, don't you think you're taking those hormones a little too long? And then finally I got to 72 years old. I was still taking hormones, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which was estrogen-based breast cancer. So how do females start coping, let's say at the age of even 40 or 45, with what begins to be the change of life, and what I used to have I'm 78 years old. So my parents had a cousin who was a dentist. I would go to him. They forced me, obviously, at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And he would always say, only bad girls ask for a Novocaine.
Oh
Good
no.
girls
Oh no.
just sit and take it. Yeah, you're talking to the wrong
Right.
female here.
Right.
So when it comes to menopause, I feel a lot of us get that kind of
Hmm.
advice. Like, okay, lady, this is what it is. Deal with it, as you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me how we make it better. Tell me how we make it smoother. Tell me how we make it more integrative.
Okay.
And tell me how we lose weight
How do
in
we
midlife.
tell you everything? Just tell Diane everything right now in 1 hour. I'll do my
Okay,
best. I'll
half
do
an
my
hour.
best. Half hour, right? So, well, first, I agree with you. We are told to just deal with it, accept it. When I turned 50, I was in the process of selling my businesses. I had 3 studios I was running all by myself, doing very well, but I knew they were eating me alive. It was not connecting to my soul anymore, and I need to make a change. And I knew I wanted to work with women over 50 because as I went to the doctor turning 50, she said, well, you look fine. Your weight is fine. I said, nah. I said, yeah, I didn't have any complaints with my weight, but my body's changing. I'm losing muscle. I'm putting more body fat on. I want to change that. And she said, honey, that's never going to happen. And I said, excuse me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I said, excuse me. I go, do you know what I do for a living? And I said, I help women with this all the time. I said, I know why this is happening to me. I said, don't you ever tell a patient that again, because that's not true. And I think I never went to her again. It was a young woman in her early 30s. So she has no clue what's going to happen to her. But I think what the problem is number one, people don't realize that it doesn't start in 50. It doesn't start at 40. It starts at 30. We already start losing muscle. It's called sarcopenia. We naturally lose our lean tissue at a rapid rate, decade after decade, it speeds up. And as you're losing that muscle, which is metabolically active tissue, right? You're losing that because your muscle's like, well, you're not moving around. Your body is losing it in your metabolism. I'm going to talk to you, ask you metabolism as a person, is saying, hey, I don't need that extra energy to go out. You're not feeding me a whole lot because usually women, they bring their calories down. I got to lose weight. I'm going to
I
bring my
had to.
calories down, right?
Yeah. Oh, I felt
So
I had to.
you felt you had to. So you bring your calories down, but what that does is causes stress. One of the biggest things that you need to work on, you with a plural you, is your stress levels, whether that's coming from work, lifestyle, a relationship, your head, imaginary, doesn't matter. Wherever that stress is coming from, you need to work on that. And that stress could be coming in the form of under eating and over exercising. These are the 2 biggest mistakes that women make. Is women are feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm dieting, I'm exercising, but I can't lose any weight. I'm getting more and more tired. I can't sleep at night. My clothes don't fit because everything's tight and I feel like mush. Like, what happened to my body?
Yep.
That's what they're feeling like. So the
Yep.
problem is they keep saying, well, I better keep eating less. Right? I'm going to eat less to lose weight. I better exercise more and just keep my body moving, and eventually I will lose this weight. That's the big mistake that everybody's making. This is what you need to do instead. Instead, you need to bring that stress levels down. I want you to imagine your metabolism as this big barometer. It's a stress barometer. It's measuring stress. So you lower your calories down, stress. You increase your exercise, stress. Nothing happens. You lower your calories more. You increase your exercise more. Even more stress. When that stress happens, your metabolism says, I'm shutting down. If you're going to put this much stress on me, that means my energy is only going to go towards the needs to keep you alive. I'm going to work on your organs. I'm going to save fat because you're not feeding me, so I better keep some on handy.
Whoa.
And I'm going to let metabolism go because that metabolism's costing me, right? It's metabolically expensive. So you can see now we're just causing us to get a slow metabolism and get heavier and heavier. Right? So that's what everybody is experiencing. So how do we turn this around? How do we shift it? It's not going on some crazy diet, yet another diet. Your body's already under stress. It doesn't need that. It's not finding some magical workout. That's not the answer. There is no magical answer. the answer is not sexy. We want it to be sexy and fun, like, oh wow, let me just take
Fun.
this pill
Yeah.
and lose weight. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
And also Americans, because now 25% of America, across obviously female, male, and a huge age span, is on Ozempic. And you're
Yeah,
not learning anything about yourself on Ozempic. It's
nothing.
basically a dietary suppressant. The people I know that are on it eat like one little jar of yogurt a day. They can barely eat more than that. That's not teaching you
No, what's going
how
to happen
to
when you go off of it?
exactly and how your metabolism works with that. I'm not sure, but I do know in my brain, Ozempic is not a key to long-term success
Correct.
if you want a really balanced body. So, I think the amazing thing is 51% of America is over 50. We are a gray nation now officially.
Yeah.
But I don't have anybody to turn to for a specialized diet or to really discuss hormones or
Hmm.
to talk about my metabolism. I just naturally do intermittent fasting because my body seems to really attune to that. But people say to me all the time, I'll say, oh, gee, everyone's on Ozempic. I'd like to lose weight. And they say, oh, no, Diane, you can't lose another pound. My middle is like a beach ball, and
Stress.
my legs are like toothpicks because I've lost most of my muscle mass, not because I have this great diet and or metabolism and I lost all this weight.
Yeah, you
So
lost a lot of muscle.
I
Yes.
lost muscle. Yeah.
So let's take it back to, where do you start? I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. It's like, okay, how do I start? And they start by, I'll get a gym membership and I'll just go work out and do 3 times a week of whatever. Or I'll just start eating lettuce and chicken or whatever, right? So instead of just jumping into an answer, you need to start where your metabolism is at. This is what I do with every single one of my clients. That I dial into, where's your metabolism at? Because how I eat could be completely wrong for how my client needs to eat, or the next client, or the next one. So what we do is we start with tracking everything. What are you eating? How are you feeling? What do you weigh? What are your measurements? What are your photos? We look at everything so I can say, okay, Diane's eating X amount of calories a day. She has this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat, and she's tired. She's not sleeping well. She's still gaining weight. This tells me her hormones are off.
Yep.
Okay. So in order to get your hormones in working properly, and I'm not talking about estrogen and progesterone. Let's face it, those are gone, right? They're gone. I'm not talking about that. There's other hormones though that deal with weight loss, like your ghrelin, your leptin, your HGH, your cortisol, your insulin. All of this has an effect on your weight. So we want to get things in balance, and the way to balance your hormones is through your nutrition. And you balance your nutrition by balancing out your macronutrients. So it's how much protein, how much carbs, and how much fat are you getting each day?
I
And I
found,
saw that look. It's like,
yeah, well,
what's
when
Lisa
I
talking
gained
about?
the excessive amount of weight during menopause, 80 pounds, I was a carbogenarian. I was a pastagenarian. It was basically one big meal a day at night,
Oh,
suicide. And it was like a pound of pasta, throw it in a pot, then take like some red sauce in a can, throw it on top of that, a glass of red wine. And that was, and I never was given any counseling on eating. As a matter of fact, when I got to a doctor, an anti-aging doctor, and he saw how much weight I gained, and I saw his neck snap back when he walked into the examination room. He put me on a scale. I said, I refuse to open my eyes. I don't want to know. He said, you are a quarter pound away from the national definition of obesity. And if you want to live out your old age this way, good luck, but you are going to have a slew of medical problems to deal with, but he never told me what to do.
Well,
He
they
never,
don't know,
he only told me all the awful stuff that
right?
was going on and was going to happen to me, but he never explained any of it or told me what to do about it.
I
It
know.
was just
They
bad girl, bad girl, bad
Yeah,
girl.
doctors don't have a lot of nutrition. They have about 2 weeks worth of nutrition education, so
Is that
please don't
crazy?
rely on your doctors for that. I have doctors in my program. I have nurses in my program. They just don't have that education. They have medical education. That's what you need to go to them for. But
So, what do we have to do?
what do you have to
Where?
do? Step number one is you have to meet your metabolism where it's at right now. Okay, what does that mean? That means tracking what you eat without making any changes. So you can see, okay, how is the food I'm eating now affecting me? Is it making me gain weight, lose weight, maintain my weight? It's making me gain weight. How's it making me feel? It's causing all these signs and symptoms. Okay, if I'm gaining weight at this amount, it's causing all of these signs and symptoms. I need to balance this out. And that's where my specialty comes in to say, okay, Diane's eating this. She's getting all these signs and symptoms. She's not eating enough. But what do? You can't just go from she's eating 800 calories a day to jump up to let's give you 1600 calories a day. You will gain weight. That's not meeting you where your metabolism is at. I might say, okay, somebody's under eating and causing stress. I might say, all right, you're only eating 900 calories a day. I'm going to put you at 1100 calories a day. And I know some nutritionists out there will say, how can you do that? That's too little. It's like I'm doing it because that's what their metabolism needs right now. They need a little bit of a boost.
But along with metabolism, I want to ask you for women, and a big part of our audience is 35 to 50. How do you go through menopause and optimize what you're eating? In other words, I think that menopause becomes such a different landscape and
Mhm.
territory from youth. And there are no doctors out there, which is crazy. There should be doctors out there for people like me in my 70s who say, okay, you want to live to be 100? You've got a good chance if you follow this regime. Well, now you've got 40-year-old women saying, oh my God, my life is over with. I'm going into menopause. I see the weight gain. I see the fat going on. Um, what, how do you optimize the period of life you're in? That's what I want to know.
It's a big question. It is again, it goes back to meeting where your metabolism is so that you can make those changes. So for instance, well, first let me just preface this by saying I can't just say everybody eat this amount of protein, this amount of
Yeah.
fat, this amount of carbohydrates, or I'm giving you a diet. It's going to be different for everybody based on your stress levels, your activity levels, and where your metabolism is at. But as an example, let's say somebody comes in who's under a lot of stress. They have a high stress job. They're under a lot of stress. They're not eating very much, and they're going to the gym and doing cardio, cardio, cardio. So for somebody, and I had somebody like that, and they went to their doctor, said, what do I do? And they said, go to this nutritionist, this dietitian. They'll give you a diet. They did little calculations. They said, oh, you're eating too little, threw all this food at her. She came to me feeling, in her words, like a sausage. She couldn't stand it anymore. Right? It was too much stress on her. So I said, all right, we're taking away all those cardios for now, because I'm just meeting you in the picture of where your metabolism is at now. The one thing I want your listeners to get across is your metabolism is a moving target. It is not static, and it will change over and over again. As you age, when you get sick, your stress levels, it keeps changing. So you look at, okay, here's where she was. I took away some stress. No more cardio. I'm going to add in strength training. I'm going to reduce your calories because what you're eating right now is making you gain weight. So we're going to reduce your calories by a couple of hundred, not a lot, by a couple of hundred. I'm going to increase your protein. I'm going to decrease your carbohydrates. And she started losing weight. The bloat went away. Her digestive system started working better. She started sleeping at night because we took the stress away. You take the stress away. Now your metabolism can say, a sigh of relief. That means I can now I can take care of burning some body fat because I don't have to hold on to it. I can take care of building some muscle because I don't have to worry about your organs so much, right? So everything starts coming together. You start sleeping better. Cortisol starts getting balanced out. You don't have insulin spikes coming up and down. So that's what I mean by balancing out. And this is what happens when you find that balance for you and your body. This is what me and my coaches do with clients is have them come in and we make a tweak. And then that next week we're looking at again, how'd it go? It's like, well, I lost weight, but I'm still really hungry. It's like, all right, up your carb now this time. How'd it go? I feel great. I'm not hungry and I'm losing weight. Excellent. So you're constantly tracking, analyzing, and adapting as you get to know your body.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that because everything that was estrogen based was taken away from me when I got breast cancer. But for women who are in their 30s, going into their 40s, and beyond the 50s plus, do you recommend foods that have a certain basis of estrogen in them, like soy products? I
Yeah,
had to
soy,
banish
flax. Yeah.
all of that from my
hmm
life.
I
But
I think it depends on the person. It's such a coach's answer. It depends. But it does depend on the person. Like for you, we'd obviously say no. Some people don't like soy, so don't have it. They could have flaxseed, that can add some estrogen in. I get a lot because I'm vegan. I'm not advocating being vegan. That's just what works for me and my body and my digestion. Um, it really depends on the person because you wouldn't want to be saying to somebody, and there's all these different conflicting. As I'm thinking of things as I'm answering this, there are conflicting studies out there. Some studies, let's say, no, 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 don't go near soy, and then there are other studies saying no, it's a different type of soy. It's not as strong as a human grade estrogen, and
ah,
absolutely you can have that. But I am not going to tell somebody who has had breast cancer they can have soy. They got to talk to the doctor because I'm not a doctor.
my doctors, even though it's New York City and it's so sophisticated and it's a huge medical system, they call it the golden rule. And they admit that it is about 30, 35 years old and it just doesn't change.
Yeah.
And it's take away all estrogen. And so to me, I was on hormone replacement therapy for well into all the way through my 60s, into my 70s. And I was on HGH as well. And
Oh,
I
okay.
had energy and I kept the weight down once I got that menopausal weight off of me. But, I don't have a hormone component in my body now. And so as an older woman, um, I find that even though I am in the majority of America population, I don't have any place to turn to that says, okay, past the age of 65, there is a particular way to look at your body and your health. And honestly, when I went through menopause, you didn't even talk about it. And for some reason, in craziness, I guess I was raised to think that men should be an authority. So I always choose a male gynecologist. And they
Oh,
don't
that's
want to talk about it
interesting.
at all. And they don't even want to hear what you're going
No.
through. And their basic deal is, Jesus, would you stop complaining? Like, just
Oh,
stop it. I don't want to hear it. This is it. And my mother actually told me all the time, constantly as a little girl, life is over for a woman at 30.
oh my goodness.
So and
Imagine if, oh my goodness.
she felt strongly about that there was no life left. You weren't going to get a man. And a man was the key to life, and on and on. So
Well,
when you talk about long-term success, and nobody can go running back to you every day and say, oh, I gained a pound, I lost a pound. What are the keys going into menopause for long-term success and maintaining a healthy body weight and some muscle for a woman, say from 35 onwards?
That's a
Oh,
great
it's
question.
different for 35 to 45, 45 to 55. How does that
Yes.
work in your estimation?
Yes. I think what you need to be aware of, let's go back to starting at meeting your metabolism where it's at, because you're constantly meeting your metabolism. So maybe I'm working with a client, we meet them where the metabolism at, we get them losing weight, and then 6 weeks in, all of a sudden things start slowing down. It's like, okay, recheck what's going on, right? How are you feeling? What's going on? I think it's constantly learning how to track what you're doing, track, analyze, and adapt. You have to learn how to be your own metabolism detective, really. Um, and that takes practice. That takes taking the time. And I know people say, I don't want to track my food. I don't have time. It only takes a minute. Track your food. How do you feel? What's going on? How did it affect your body? So now you've got some data behind you. I know, like, I'm in my 60s. I'm 63 now. And I know, like, when I'm 50, I'm like, I've got this all figured out. I turned 60. I went, oh, crap, what happened?
What
It
happened?
changed it to get changed
What
again.
truck hit me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, all right, back to the drawing board. But it does not mean that you need to track for the rest of your life. It means track as much as you can. Find that homeostasis. Find that place where you're losing weight and you're feeling good, right? And stay there. Eat intuitively. If eating intuitively doesn't work, go back to tracking. What are you doing wrong?
And
And it's that back and forth.
I have bad eating days, and when I say bad eating days, I have loves like this is crazy because I try to be vegetarian 4 days a week. My body likes it, where I'll just want to eat liverwurst. Now,
Oh, no.
I know exactly. Oh no. And so I don't know what triggers that in my brain, but that if that's the only protein I'm going to eat all day, that is not a good protein. But I want to say something to the audience as well. There is going to come a point in your life, whether it is the beginning of menopause, perimenopause, mid, and people say you're going to go through menopause the rest of your life, and actually they're kind of right. Um, you've got to make you a top priority. You've got
Absolutely.
to make you your best hobby
Hmm.
and track yourself in your soul. How are you feeling today? Why are you eating the way you're eating today? Do you have something
Yeah.
emotionally upsetting in your life? Have you gone for 4 or 5 days without eating any animal protein? So liverwurst becomes very fast. Grab it,
Mhm.
eat it, and oh, yum yum yum.
Yeah,
I
see,
I
it
tell
comes back to
you,
balance, doesn't it,
yeah,
Diane?
yeah.
It still comes even that, even the mental part of it. I always tell my clients, we work on balanced nutrition, progressive overload for for your workouts. It has to be to build muscle, and then we're also working on developing a strong mindset because some people come into it and I'll say to, them, "What's your health identity?" And they'll say, "What do you mean by that?" It's like,
What is that? Health
What's
identity.
your health identity? Well, how do you see yourself? Some people identify as I am an overweight woman. I am not active. Or just look around you and see what your activities are like. It's like if it's, binge watching Netflix and getting takeout, your health identity is not that of a woman who's thriving in life. So you need to start making shifts into, okay, so what's the woman you want to be? Because we were just talking about we want to thrive, right? Into
That's
our
brilliant.
80s and 90s and
Yeah,
hundreds, God willing.
yeah.
So if you want to do that, who's the woman that's thriving? What is she behaving like? And what are you behaving like? And what are the differences? That's a great exercise for your listeners to do right now. Sit down and look at who's the woman I want to be? What does she look like? What does she live like? How does she feel? And then look at number two, what am I? How am I living my life? How do I feel? What are the gaps? And then from those gaps, look at what step do you need to take to stop being the woman that you want to be.
Yeah, when I pictured old age, and I was saying it on another podcast, I just pictured my hair would turn white. I'd go on looking the same. I'd be the same. I'd be doing the same thing. And then arthritis in my knee from running all my life became a real impediment.
Hmm.
And so I'm dealing with one health issue, arthritis in a weight bearing limb that basically changes my whole life. I can't go to a gym. I can't be on a treadmill. I'm dealing with a physical therapist. And so I've had to sort of redo my entire identity around that. I was not even traveling. And then I said, okay, Diane, give it up. Just ask for a wheelchair in the airport, put your ego aside.
Yes.
And you know what? That changed my life.
Yeah. Put the ego
Dealing with,
aside for sure.
for
For
sure,
sure.
and dealing honestly with where you're at in life physically. I think that the biggest shock was I just never thought anything bad would happen to me. And then it did, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. Aren't we all? We all feel we're a little bit immortal, right?
Immortal, and
Yeah.
you sort of don't want to deal with it. But if you can take the attitude that aging is a privilege rather than a punishment, and that every minute is precious. So for me, my goal is to maximize the rest of my life, be
Yeah.
able to travel. So I set goals for myself, like international travel,
Oh,
being
that's
able to
great.
get back to an active gym environment again, writing my third, fourth book. So I've got goals that are realistic because writing is mostly done sitting down, so that's good.
Hmm.
But traveling, that's a huge goal for me because that's food for my soul.
Yes.
So I think you have to learn and how to really respect you in the moment you're in, how to feed your soul, how to be really honest with yourself. Like for me, losing weight was not like, oh, I'm going to be skinnier now. I'm going to go out on the dating scene. That was not my goal. My goal was if I lose some weight, because I gained 30 pounds during chemotherapy from steroids.
Right.
If I lose 30 pounds, it's going to be much easier for me to conquer pain in a weight
Hmm.
bearing limb. So
Absolutely.
that's what you got to do, ladies. You've got to love where you're at. Learn to love yourself, whether you're going into menopause, whether you're going into advanced middle age, which I call 65 years old, or you're going into the older years and saying, why should I be here if I can't go on pursuing things in my life I love? That to me is what your practice, Lisa, is all about. It
Absolutely.
it's all about care and respect for your body in the moment you're living in, not trying to get back to youth, not trying to get back to a 20-year-old body again, but saying, here's where I am today. I always say this to myself: today is the youngest I will ever be. How am I going to take advantage of it?
Absolutely. And you can do that. And people actually usually are shocked at how good they do feel once they get in my program and they're eating right and getting that exercise in so that they can deal with things like when you're having pains with your knee and you give into it and don't travel at all, now your hips become stiff, which makes your pains even in your knee even worse. Then
Yeah,
your low
we're
back
dealing
stuff.
with
You
that.
have to keep moving. Motion is a
Yeah,
lotion, people. You've got you have to
it's
keep
so
that body
true.
moving.
It's
Yeah.
so true, but part of that would be if I was coming to you or anybody that gave a bigger view of everyday, maximizing everyday life. The first thing I would say is, should I be gluten free? Or what are the foods I'm eating? I'm sure liverwurst is like putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. But what are my dietary habits that are actually exacerbating and aggravating the condition
Right.
I have? And how can I withdraw from that and still feel like I'm not deleting things from my diet that I love? I think one thing, and we're kind of drawing to the end here, but one thing I do believe is that older people don't fight the lack of exercise and activity, and they instead substitute food and say, well, I deserve it.
Oh,
Right? Like
okay.
sitting, well, how do you get pleasure in life? Well, I used to get a lot of pleasure in life out of running and going to the gym
Yeah.
and sweating. And I loved that whole thing and feeling good. And so now, on days when I feel a little sorry for myself, that's when I find myself saying, okay, throw caution to the wind. Eat whatever you want to eat. You deserve it.
Yeah.
And I
You
try to
know,
keep
that's
myself
funny
every
that you
time.
mentioned that because I think people do need to have days like that because you can't continually say, I'm just going to eat healthy. I'm going to like, this is what I eat and this is all I eat. You know, that's a recipe for disaster happening there. You have to have times where you're just enjoying something. But what if you change that narrative to when you're making yourself this phenomenally healthy meal with these like deep, rich greens and grains and everything, and you're like, I deserve to eat this. I
That's the
deserve
difference.
that.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's the difference. Give
Yes,
your body what it needs, not always what your psyche tells you. Because honestly,
exactly.
the thing that's amazing to me is I'm probably one of the last people that still watches cable TV. But I would say 50% of the commercials are for disastrously junky foods
Yeah.
like pizza with cured meats on top of it and
Uh,
stuff that has a shelf life of 32 years and has
right.
tons of preservatives. And then the other half of the commercials are about drugs you take to
Yes.
counteract
Yes.
all the damage you're doing yourself from eating those junk foods. It's just unbelievable.
Exactly. And then think about what's happened to your gut health during
Uh
all of
huh.
this, right? Because if your gut health is off, you're not going to absorb the nutrients that you need. So,
Oh,
it's not going to be able to get through the gut lining because the gut health is off. You also can make you depressed because you know where your serotonin and
yes.
dopamine is? It's in your gut. It's not in your brain like they thought. Most of
Yes.
it's in your gut. So really, yeah, eating healthy, you can get. I'm not going to say it's going to take care of depression. If you're clinically depressed, you go to your doctor and you get your medicine. You do what you need to do.
Right.
But I do know that if you're eating healthy and exercising, those medications are going to work a heck of a lot better.
So, Lisa Swanson, Body and Soul. That's such a
Body
great
and
title
soul.
for a company.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
that deals with people's bodies because, honestly, health is the soul food of your body and your everyday life. And I'm dreaming about what I'm going to eat the minute I'm off this podcast.
I won't ask. I
Destructive,
won't ask.
destructive or non-destructive? No, today is a vegetarian day. No,
Good
not
job.
not too destructive. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I want to thank you so much. I really believe in the way you turn around and handle women coming into menopause, coming into midlife. And there's a reason why they call it midlife crisis, ladies.
Yep.
We do not have enough information to make it a non-crisis. And that's where somebody like Lisa Swanson comes in and kind of lays down a runway that we can all land on from our youth in a society that is about extreme youth worship and nothing much beyond for females, and make our lives so much better and give us a chance to age and contribute to society way beyond 40
Oh,
or
we
50
have a
years old.
lot to
Lisa,
contribute. We have a
a
lot to
lady
contribute.
that I truly admire
Thank
and
you.
respect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.